At least for me, my experience was that like, okay, I was on move on to the next thing. Okay, I better work on that. Okay, I better work on that. Or my nervous system was it and still is at times so rocked.
Let this be the season of healing right now
Mm.
versus wanting to get back. I need to get back. Getting back makes me feel better. It has made me a much more selfish, in a good way,
Yep.
person. I am a giver and I want to do all these things for people. And I finally have had just such a crazy 3 years of my own health problems and life and curveballs and hurt, like deep hurt. And I don't know if I would be who I am right now today without like the strength of what I've just been through that nobody understands except me.
Welcome to Reignite with Reet. I have Nat Buchanan here. She lives in Waterdown, Canada. It's technically called Waterdown, right?
Yeah, you got that right.
I've moved away a few years and I'm
It's been
like,
a
oh my
minute.
God, it's been a minute, like 5 years, man, 5 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
Thank you for having
welcome,
me.
Nat. I'm so excited. It took me a little bit to ask you because I was like, I gotta give women some time to kind of watch what I'm doing and sit in it. And you have definitely been an amazing woman in community and watching what you're doing and the art of pivot. You are a mom, you're a wife, you are a double mastectomy survivor. I don't even want to use the word survivor. You chose to go down that path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, you're gonna have to help walk me through a little bit because
For
I don't
sure.
want to put words in your mouth. And you also are a birth doula,
Mm-hmm.
and you have another full-time job where you work for a beverage company, right? A
I
non-alcoholic
do.
beverage company,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So all of that, and you still like play sports. You're like an athlete. You're at the gym every day, and like I want you to share all of your goodness because here's a woman who prioritizes, I believe, herself. Can you start where a little bit about your journey with the breast cancer in your family and what took you to on this journey of the mastectomy?
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny right away when you said the word survivor, because when I started looking into this, option and journey for myself, there's groups and they call themselves previvors. And while I respect that, it just didn't sit with me personally. Again, I respect that everybody has their own feelings and whatever they want to call their journey. That's absolutely, valid. But I think I watched my mom go through breast cancer, and to call myself a previvor just didn't, it just wasn't the word that I liked to use. While I did go through a lot that we will, chat about in depth. And I'm still going through it. I can't compare that to having cancer or losing my hair or being so sick that I can't get out of bed. I had my rough days, but the word provider and survivor, I just like to say that I'm a double mastectomy advocate and educator, and knowledge is power, whether it's birth or mastectomy or anything in life. And essentially, my journey started when my mom was diagnosed on her 49th birthday, which is quite young. I lived away. I was in University of Ottawa, so I was away from my mom, which was really difficult on me emotionally. I started my own genetic testing. So here in Canada, I don't know if it's Ontario specific, but to be put into the genetic testing program, you have to have 3 generations of breast cancer in your family. So I was looking down at history and records of my mom's cancer, breast cancer, my grandmother's breast cancer, and my grandmother's mother. So I am automatically put into the program. And I started that journey about 21 years of age.
I did not even know that you had started it that young. Wow.
So it's funny because I did. I remember being at I guess it would have been the oncologist, and my mom was so eager coming off of her diagnosis to get me started. She wanted a starting point. Well, where can I start with my daughter? And the doctor had come out and said, I'm going to be really honest with you. If I was to do imaging of your daughter's breast tissue right now, there's going to be so many abnormalities because she's so young. Her breast tissue is so dense. So he compared it to like looking up at the sky and trying to find a plane in like a really cloudy day. You're not going to find it. You're going to see bumps and this and that and clouds, but you're not going to find what you're really looking for. And he said, if I was you, I'd come back in, 10 years. So then I really started the testing. I'd want to say, I think I was about 28 or almost 30 when they do a ton of blood work, ask you 100 questions, look at your history, and then they essentially just kind of give you this risk and rate. And then when you turn 32, that compounds just because of age. So when I turned 32, that's when I had a conversation with the oncologist. Going to be honest, never once thought about a preventative prophylactic double mastectomy. She had said I was the perfect candidate because I am healthy, I'm very active, I take good care of my body. And then we kind of looked at what that looked like.
And at 32, had you already had your daughters? You have two daughters.
I did. So I had my first daughter at 27, which kind of led me into birth work, just being the youngest and first of my friend group to have a child. And then I had my second at 30. So for me, I had breastfed two beautiful kids. I had had that journey. Things looked a little different. So when we had the conversation about, what does a prophylactic mastectomy look like, it just, there was a lot to consider. It took me probably about a year to really decide. But for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. I didn't want my girls to see what I had to deal with my mom. And if it took my chances from potentially over 60% and every year that gets worse and greater, and to go down to a less than 1% chance if I decided to take my nipples, it just was a no-brainer for me.
When you say if you decided to take your nipples, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I was pretty heavy chested. I had a big chest growing up. So after breastfeeding two children, my nipples were quite low because of, the journey of breastfeeding. So the doctor had explained to me, the plastic surgeon had explained to me that if I did want to keep my nipples before doing the mastectomy part of the procedure, they would have to do a breast lift, basically to try to get my nipples at the right like center of gravity, essentially. So when they'd said to me, oh, it's going to be a third surgery, I just said, I don't really care. I think there are women in this world who are very like drawn to their nipples, whether it's like a sexual stimuli or femininity. But for me and my partner, when we had those conversations, I just looked at it as like, if you're going to do it, like take it all. Like if I'm making such a massive decision, I could do a nipple tattoo if I felt like I wanted to. But for me, the decision was just to take it all. In retrospect, I ended up having to have 4 procedures. So the didn't really work out in my favor. But again, you think you know what you're signing up for, but you never can really fully know, right?
Nobody can promise an outcome, right? Like doctors are here to help and they're experts at what they do, but they can't play God. They don't know what when they start
Mm-hmm.
cutting, what happens and how your body responds and what they find.
100%.
And how
A
are you going
hundred
to
percent.
heal,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the uncertainty of life. When you make a decision, you make an informed decision based on the information and research you have. However, the on the other side, like that scale of the level of uncertainty is huge.
Huge.
You
And
you
I, I think
oh
I
go ahead.
underestimated that a little bit, to be honest with you. Like you just nailed it. Like you're healing. How you don't know the procedures, things that come up. There was definitely bumps in my road. Even joining the groups, reading the books, connecting with local women, connecting with people all over the world because there was such a lack of knowledge and education about the. I mean, we're definitely getting there. I think a lot more people are talking about. You've got like Olivia Munn and all these celebrities who are now talking about it. And I think it's wonderful. But as a 32-year-old, 32 at the age of my surgery, girl from Waterdown, there wasn't much out there. You just kind of had to figure it out yourself. So I think you nailed it. Like you can prepare yourself, but you really just don't fully know everything, right? It's just a part of the journey
Yeah.
that you have to kind of surrender to.
Yep. And that's life, right? Uncertainty, especially as we get older as women, we are constantly pivoting in motherhood, in our careers, in marriage, in
Oh
relationships,
yeah.
friendship circles, and our health.
Yeah.
It's a battle that I feel, like you said, with there's more information and people are talking about it, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Then you're
Mm-hmm.
going down menopause and perimenopause and menopause, and still people are talking about it, but yet there's still a lack of research, and it's a lot of things done in the recent years. It's not like we have a 10, 20 year case studies. So we are the guinea pigs. Literally, you know, when you choose to go down this journey, you kind of are the test subject.
Yeah, again, like you're bang on there. I was towards the end of this, it would have been October of last year. It was my last procedure, and I was a part of like a cohort of young, or I think there was like 8 of us, kind of like a test pilot through this prophylactic journey. And I was unfortunate to have, I want to call them like a keloid scar, but they're called like mm, hydroprophic or something, where it's like a raised scar. So
Hmm.
I've been through many surgeries, too many that it's not even cool at this point. And I never had like thick scarring. It's actually more common in women of color, and didn't really know why this happened to me, but it did. And I had to have a scar revision. And they basically took me and 7 other patients, and they said, well, after this procedure, we're going to do radiation 24 hours after the procedure, and then we're going to do it 2 weeks after, and we're going to see, because there's studies abroad, and it's saying that the radiation is actually going to help with scarring. Well, turns out it does, because the one small part of the area that I didn't get fixed is still a keloid scar. So again, just like what you said, I was at kind of a test. Like, they're always learning, they're always trying to see if there's more that they can do. And I mean, at that point, I had already been through so much that I said, well, I'll raise my hand to try to fix these scars. If it allows you to do it for the next person, that's going to, benefit them.
Wow, that's amazing. That, like, to go. I mean, I don't know. Trailblazing is not what we call in this industry, or and health for women. What we have to go through. It's really just walking this path of life and figuring it out and holding the lantern for other
Mm-hmm.
women, right? It's not even trailblazing. You're holding the lantern so that there could be light for our daughters, for other women, and um, wow. If I can pivot, like just kind of go back a little bit, if you do you feel comfortable sharing a little bit about the kind of the surgery process? If
Yeah.
somebody's sitting here on the other end and being like, okay, what is the gene called? When just
Yeah.
how's that go?
Yeah. So again, we've come such a long way. When I did my testing, they were testing for the BRCA1 and 2 gene. To be completely honest with you, I didn't have the gene. My mother didn't have the gene. My grandmother didn't have the gene. We just have a high risk. It's a genetic disposition. Um, they basically told me, kind of in a kinder way, that I was essentially ticking time bombs for breast cancer. And again, I just think I saw so much that my mom went through. I left school to be a parent to her as much as I could, while also being a provider for my dad at home and trying to do the best that I could. So I think, even though I didn't have the gene, being told I had a high risk, I just didn't want to even give myself or my children the option of having breast cancer. If someone was looking at me saying, you can do this, it's covered, XYZ, you won't get breast cancer.
Hmm.
It just, that's just how it was presented to me. So now, again, it's incredible with all of like the fundraising and where we've come. They do, I believe it's called a 19 gene panel test. So my children, when they're ready to have their genetics looked into, they will do a 19 gene panel, which is much, much more accurate, more specific. So essentially, with your genetic history, again, it's to be in the program where I am, it's 3 generations. And then they take your blood and they ask you questions about your menstrual cycle and, drinking habits, or, smoking. They look at your history of health, and then they basically give you a like a number or a rate. And then when you decide if you want to stay into the program, I was getting breast MRIs and breast mammograms every 9 months. So I was fine with the mammograms. I think after breastfeeding two children, I guess the first when I'd started them, I hadn't breastfed yet, but that part was okay for me. I, throw these things up, down, left, right, which they've been through worse.
Yeah.
But the breast MRIs were really difficult for me. I'd struggled with anxiety growing up. I used to be on an anxiety medication, and you're essentially put into this, like tunnel. And I was doing it every 9 months, and they would inject a dye into me, and they would tell you, okay, for the last 7 minutes, like your feet may go numb, or you may taste tin in your mouth, and just like stay calm. And every time I did those, I did it for 2 years, and I was like, I don't want to do this. It's a full day off work. My anxiety waiting for the test results. I was just like, I don't want to keep doing this. So like, what are my options? And then that's when they had spoken to me about the prophylactics. So you'll get an oncologist, and then they basically talk to you about, do you want to do under the muscle? Do you want to do over the muscle? Do you want to keep your nipples? Do you want to, there's so many different terms. A DIEP, DIEP, it's where they take fat from elsewhere and then they make a boob essentially from excess fat. That's what my mother had. Given that I was younger and I do work hard for to have a strong, powerful body, I went for the implants. But there's just so many options, and there's so much jargon and so many different things that it's very overwhelming. And at the end of the day, you kind of have to trust your surgeon and ask 100 questions and try to talk to as many people as you can about their experience.
So once the process started, what does that look like? The first surgery, the recovery, and like what was the time frame for you? Every woman's different, but what
Yeah.
did your
Yeah.
experience look?
So I'll also mention here, if you decide to leave the program, you can't get back in. So you do kind of feel a small sense of like a pressure, a fortunate one that I was in this program. So I did have a choice to make, but I think that was something that I did think of. So I decided to have a prophylactic double mastectomy direct to expanders. So my first surgery was most definitely the most aggressive. So they removed my oncologist and the plastic surgeon, which were both my moms, which was kind of wild and cool and crazy. They work together. They coincide with the surgery. So removal of one chest implant, I went under the muscle. Again, I work out. I wanted to have as a natural of a look as possible. So I went under the muscle. So yeah, that day waking up, also wild. I had like the most aggressive surgery, and they try to tell you that the next day at 6 a.m., like you got to go. And I remember my nurse coming, and I was trying, I couldn't even get out of a bed. And I remember, and I kind of did faint, and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I feel like a cow is sitting on my chest. I looked down, I am bruised and battered. I've just lost my boobs. You've got no core strength. I'm not going anywhere. And it's sad to think that women are pushed out, whether it's bed space or whatever. So I did that surgery. And then after that, there's so many things, but after that, the expander, so they sit under the muscle. It essentially looks like a sack. Every 2 weeks, I'd go back to Juravinski Cancer Hospital, and they would inject anywhere from 80 to 110 cc's of saline every 2 weeks. So it was a slow build to allow your muscles to grow slowly but surely. Once you tap out at how big of a size you want to be, then you have to sit in those expanders for, I think it was 4 months, give your skin the chance to stretch. And then you do something called an exchange surgery. So the exchange surgery is then when you go to a real implant. Again, so many different options, feelings, profiles. It's like picking a ring. It was like, oh, I don't even know where to start. There's so many different terms. And so I had, bumps in the road. I signed off at 450 cc's, which for me and my body type, I was, really excited to be like a nice little C. And when I woke up from that surgery, I was told that I had 625 cc's. So that was a shock. But again, this wasn't an aesthetic boob job. This was they're scraping and they're working with a clean slate and trying to put, a chest back on or inside of you that looks normal for your body type. And you have to kind of trust the surgeon's process. And yeah, so it was a really tough one to wake up to. And then 6 months later, actually 2 weeks later, it's called rippling, another term that you'll hear about when you look into this. And basically my surgeon right away was like, you shouldn't be rippling after 2 weeks. It's like this isn't going to work. So then I had to wait another 6 months to let my body heal to then reopen and do an exchange surgery again with a different implant. So that was three
Wow.
surgeries in a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had a
But
2 and a 4-year-old at home.
and what's the toll it took on you emotionally? Like, I want to know this because women need to understand, and I want men to understand, and whoever's listening, that year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
what was your journey like with your mental health and being a mom and a partner and a woman?
Yeah, there's so many things. I am a sharer, and I think part of my coping mechanism was sharing. For whatever reason, if I could vent or educate, I think it helped me maybe internally heal. Not looking for sympathy, more so just trying to have people who are in this situation understand like the raw and the realness. And when I started with my doula journey, I was a sharer about, what happens postpartum. So when I took this journey of a mastectomy on, I just followed suit and just wanted to share. I think as much as confident as a woman as you can be, or you take a hit. I think I your femininity, will my husband still think I am sexy? What will my sex life be? Will my kids look at me differently? Will I feel different? I think there's a level of some body dysmorphia after you have that intensive a surgery and then not really going the way you wanted and thinking you were going to turn out one way and you look a different way. I think it was really difficult. And I still think I have difficult days. I still talk about it, with my therapist. And honestly, I have the most amazing husband. Like I could get choked thinking about how blessed I am to have him, because if you don't have support, I think you're lost. I think you're really lost. We hired a nanny, like a live-in nanny for a while, just with my husband's line of work. We needed some extra support, especially on the weekends. And if you don't have support, if I didn't have the support I had between, some close friends and my mom, and my husband, I think I would have been in a hole.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And even with the support, I think as women, you still have a level of hole that you go into because that's part of the grief and the mourning process. You lost a part of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like pretty aggressive. It was sudden and it's abrasive. It's impactful, right? Like it shakes you and rocks you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the journey back to who you this new you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm still learning. I really try every day to tell myself to be gracious with my body. I'm definitely the hardest on myself. It's just who I am. I was a competitive athlete and born in a household of competition, and I just think that I really do try to be kinder to myself. I've had a lot of surgeries postpartum, and then into my mastectomy decision, and internally we don't know what our body is battling. Cortisol, stress, internal inflammation. Like there's just so many things that we can't see. It goes back to like women think deeper into their potential lack of emotional immaturity that we never understood growing up. And it's okay to see those things and feel those things and feel no different about, our parents and all that they have done, but just learn from it.
Yeah, I love that. I think we do have different seasons. You feel no different, but then emotions come up of anger, grief, sadness that is in your body that felt like, oh, I didn't feel seen, or I was compared, or I was judged for my body, and being graceful with them, saying they did the best they could, they had no idea. Then also holding them accountable that that was then, this is now. We
Mm-hmm.
do know different. Let's change the conversation. Let's not keep repeating the narratives. That's a big one because that happens over slow change. Like I can't expect my parents, my in-laws, your parents to just snap on and buy into, because that feels defensive for them.
Right.
I've felt like in my own experience, family get very defensive when I share my experience as a child, or being like, they even get upset or angry because
Mm-hmm.
they think you're attacking them, and it's not meant to attack. It's about talking and communication and awareness, and say, hey, this impacted me for 2 decades, 3 decades, and I was silent about it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It shaped who I am and my experience or my lack of confidence. And it's not even that we're looking for apologies, it's looking for dismantling the systems that our family grew up in and saying, hey, I'm doing it this way. Like, I just appreciate that there be no judgment or any comments because I'm choosing to do it a bit differently with my daughters.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think this is an important conversation.
I mean, I can't tell you how many, people in my life around me are dealing with boundary issues with their, with their parents. I think that that's a very common conflict that we all are dealing with at this age, like you said, in that kind of sandwich era that we're in. And I'll tell you what, like I have very open, very real, very sometimes tough conversations about, that in my family. And I have the most amazing supportive family, but there's got to be boundaries, right? Like you said, you may do it this way and I'm going to do it this way. And I have my own village now. I have my own, I'm on my island with my family. I love you, but this is mine.
It took me a minute to understand. Me, my husband, and my daughter, we're immediate family. I love you, you're my family, but you're extended family.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that like you're not in my like heart and I don't love you, but how we're approaching life with this other partner that has his own family, and our dynamic coming together and raising this other human, bringing and finding agreement and compromise and just compassion and love, the two of us having in-laws and our parents involved. You do have to set healthy boundaries and speak up and ask for
Mm-hmm.
what you want and what you need, because their expectations are theirs to own. They're not
Mm-hmm.
ours,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're not here to live up to everybody else's expectations. And we are going to let people down. I've learned
Mm-hmm.
that. Like we are going to upset people and hurt people's feelings. And I had to do so many, like a decade of work around that, and it still does. And being like, that's not my responsibility to hold their expectations so heavily on my shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Being
yeah.
afraid to let them down, being afraid to be myself, being afraid to be too much, being afraid to do it my way. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, literally, in my excuses, like in my, not my excuses, in my life, it's literally been piss people off, and you almost have to come back and mend it after,
Mm-hmm.
because there is no gentle way of doing it. You try to ask for what you need, you try to have the conversations, it's not received.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's an important conversation, I think, to have in this generation, because I thought I was alone. I would watch other parents, I'm like, but everybody's family seems so respectful and they get it. And I talked to a lot of my village and my friends, and they're like, oh my gosh, like,
We feel it too.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Like you could have like an amazing family, and
Yeah.
but it is the work that we're doing now and teaching our parents how to show up in our lives that is healthy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's asking for it too.
Yeah. I think, having just like positive talk surrounding therapy and why we do it and there not being shame around it, I think is so healthy.
Yeah. And talking about, I even with my daughter, I'm like, mom does not know sometimes what I'm doing. I've
Mm-hmm.
never done this mom thing before,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing it as best as I can, and I do ask for help. I
Mm-hmm.
have a big village from doctors, therapists, counselors, coaches, life coaches, because we need people to help teach us how to regulate our nervous system. What does that mean? How to talk about our emotions, how to be okay with crying and actually let my daughter see me cry, because I'm a human. I don't want her to grow up thinking like, oh no, I never saw that in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Our body needs to release tears. Like it is actually scientifically like good to let that out so it's not stored.
Yeah.
And right? So how do you do that for your daughters?
Yeah, that's it's funny because when I think about the journey that I've been through, I was really open with my kids. You know, my eldest at the time was only three, 3.5, and I had a 1 year old, and I didn't hide my scars, my drains. I looked very different. I looked sad. I cried. And to this day, you know, like if I have a shower with the girls or they see my body, it's such an open conversation in my house. They ask a lot of questions and I just didn't hide it. Like if I was having a bad day, I just let it out and I said, "Mommy's sad. This is hard for mommy. Mommy doesn't feel good. You know, mommy needs a minute." And you know, everyone parents differently, as we know, but I just wanted them to not be scared watching me on the tough days or battle through it. That yeah, I still am very open. You know, Austin, she's now 4, my youngest, and she'll say, sorry, just turned 5, and she'll say, "Well, I don't want to do that, mommy. I like you don't have nipples." And I'm like, "You don't have to do that. Mommy made this decision for myself, and when it's your turn, we'll talk about what you want to do. You've got options." So we have really funny conversations and very open conversations. And, you know, my partner's more of a private person. Whereas I'm, you know, an open book. I'm an oversharer. And that's just what works for me and my kids. I think I had that relationship with my mom. I didn't have to sneak off and, you know, do bad things because I was open with my mom about it, you know, whether that was birth control or drinking or whatever, boys. I just grew up in a household that we talk about it. And that's how I am as a parent. And I want my kids to, even if they think they're in trouble, I'm still going to be your person to talk to every single time.
Yep. I enforced that too. I was like, we're building safety and trust.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to come, even if you lied and to me, just no, just you have an opportunity in the next moment, just tell the truth and
Mm-hmm.
come back and say, hey, mom, I lied. It just came out. I was scared. Let me know, because I want you, I am on your team, 100%. You
Mm-hmm.
make mistakes, I'm going to be there. You lied to me, I'm still going to be there. I'm going to probably get upset. I'm not going to lie to you. We're building a trust, and I'm human, but know that mom and dad love you despite no matter what. There's nothing you can mess up, that we are not going to be there for you, and
Mm-hmm.
allow us to do that now. So we're building that trust, that muscle of honesty and trust and safety now. And it doesn't always happen. I've full transparency, I've lost my cool on her, and I know it takes me a while to build that trust back,
Mm-hmm.
because I jarred her, or I scared her, and being like, oh, I'm not safe to tell mom that because she's going to blow up.
Right.
And
Right.
we have conversations about that, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, mom, what happened, that reminded me of something that happened to me when I was a kid, Mila, and it really scared me, and I kind of blew up, and I didn't know how to handle my big feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not you. That is
Mm-hmm.
not about you. That big feeling is about mom and her mom's little girl inside. But what you can do is, like, I just say sorry and say, I'm going to work on that. That's
For
not
sure.
about you. Right?
For
Like you
sure.
said, full, I'm trying to do what never happened. I'm trying to talk about it all, and
Mm-hmm.
see how that lands. We don't know, right? Our daughters have their own journey, like they're on ours, but they have
Mm-hmm.
their own path and who they're going to be. And
Yeah.
all we can do is surround ourselves with women that are honest and want the same like growth for their daughter, and not be ashamed that sometimes we fail as moms, sometimes daily.
We don't have the rule books, right? We sure don't. We can do our best, and yeah, you got to be kind with yourself when you do make those mistakes. And I think, like you just said, you got to just apologize. Sometimes say, "Mommy was wrong."
Yeah.
What I love about my almost 8 year old is we have our best, deepest, vulnerable conversations at nighttime.
Yep.
There's an empathy in her that if she did something at school that maybe wasn't super kind or something that's weighing on her, I'll put her to bed. And she calls me back up to bed and she's like, I got to tell you something. I'm like, go nuts, babe. And we just like talk it out. It could be as simple as like, I told a girl that I thought her green shorts weren't cool. Uh, and it's weighing on her. Like she has to get it out. And I'm like, okay, so let's write her a letter and let's apologize tomorrow or whatever that be. But I think with how open I am, like I'm seeing that in my eldest and I hope to see it in my youngest as well. She's definitely an empath in her own way. But yeah, I think just like open conversation. I saw something, one of the psychologists that I follow, and he said, the best thing you can do, actually, maybe it was Mel Robbins, the best thing that you can do for your child is if they're speaking to you, you can say, do you want my advice or do you want me to just listen? And I love that. I was
I
like,
love that
that.
for marriage too.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
Because
Big time.
because lately I've had to ask my husband and say, I don't want coaching. I
Yeah.
want a safe space to just unleash for this moment,
Yeah.
because we are different parents and different in our different part of our relationship right now, where I'm like, I want to build more intimacy. I want to be like, do want him to be my best friend. And I have a lot of friends, but sometimes he's in my house, he's here. And I was
Hmm.
like, please don't coach me or give me advice. I just want you to listen. And
Hmm.
so I don't want to interrupt, but like, yes, I love that for our kids.
No, I think it's like it's so great. It's so simple, but it's so great. You're giving them that opportunity to have their own power of, what do I want? Do I want advice? Or do I just want to talk to my mom? Like
Choice.
that's,
We all have
you're
choices.
giving them the choice. I just think I saw it and I was like, wow, I literally love this. And I wish I saw this a long time ago.
I'm gonna remind that to myself, because I get caught up in the mom mode and being like
A
wanting to
hundred
do
percent.
instead of just be. And like your daughter Mila also, at bedtime, if dad puts her to bed, and be like, can you send mama please to say goodnight to me? And she's like, come and lie down with me right here.
Yeah,
And
there's something on the mind.
you want to chit chat? You want to
Hmm.
chat? Like, let's
Hmm.
talk about. It starts off with like planning something or doing something, and then a lot of times tears or
Yep.
something
Yep.
really heavy that it's not big, but like it is consuming them.
Hmm. Yeah,
and and
absolutely.
and they got it, like, we got to let it out,
Hmm.
because that compounds.
Big time.
If it's
Yeah.
gets swept under the rug, compounds. And like, we are living proof, all of the crap that got compound as we were kids, and that never we grew up in a generation. You don't talk about things, you don't talk about feelings, you don't talk about discomfort, you just
Hmm.
keep on moving, you hustle, and let's go.
Hmm.
You're not a victim. Like, and I have to catch myself that I don't dismiss and say, hey, we're not victims here, because I can repeat those words that were said to me, and don't be a victim. And it's like, we can be, but we don't have to stay there. But in order to move through to get to the other side, you have to actually go through the process of
Hmm.
allowing yourself to fall apart and live in this messy world.
Oh, big time. Big time.
If you can give your daughters, looking back, say, at your age, they're at your age, what advice would you give them? Like, both of them, whether in the same advice, or you have they're both two different humans.
Yeah.
What would you give them?
I think, given where I'm at and looking at the past couple of years of my life, I would say people come into your life for a reason and they don't always have to stay there. People come into your life for so many different reasons. I think as women, but even, like people with lots of friends or the go-getters, or the want to be friends with everybody, that only lasts so long. I think there's a reason that people say your 40s are your best for women, because I think you really have a level of confidence in not only yourself, but your partner and your marriage and your friend group and your family and who you choose to be every day and the parent that you choose to be. I would tell my girls, don't sweat the small stuff and understand that people are going to come and people are going to go.
Mm. That is so nailed it. Like, because I mean, I'm gonna be 46 in a couple of months, and I really have gotten to a place, and it's still a practice, but
Of
not
course.
giving a shit. Saying people in my life, I love them all. Every single one of them has come. And some of the ones that challenged me and felt like broke me the most are the ones that gave me the biggest gifts, to be like, come back to love myself so much, pick myself up and say, hey, I also know what that feels like, and that energy people bring when you know and you don't trust yourself and you keep giving them second and third and fourth chances to change, and you think they're going to change. But that's not your business. That's not your work. And it's your work to keep going on your own journey. And if that means you need to move away a little bit on a path, like for me, literally and physically, but
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
I'm on an island.
Yeah. You really pieced out.
But I am a person who is of that hard pivots where something's not working. And if I need to save myself, I will be selfish to be like, every noise out of here. I need to figure this out. And that looks different for everybody. And
Hmm.
I love that advice, because same thing, like don't stay in, don't choose to suffer in relationships that are not serving you. And yes, it's a responsibility for us to both, see our part in it. And you can only change yourself. You can only keep working on you. You can't do the other work for other people.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
so beautiful. I One last question before we kind of
Hmm.
close this,
Hmm.
because that's for your daughters, but for something for every woman. Wish Something you wish every woman knew about her body and her power. Having gone through what you've gone through, what's something you wish every woman knew about her body and her power?
Hmm. I'd say, I think the biggest thing for women is you really cannot compare yourself to anyone else's journey in any respect,
Mm.
whether it be health, physical, surgery, marriage, sex, femininity. I think, again, that game of comparison is just such a nasty, nasty thing. And I think we are in this society of constant comparison. And my advice that I tell myself every day, it's like you said, it's work, is just stop the game of comparison.
Yeah, that is literally, I think every woman in a world of social media and AI, that is something we need to hear every single day. That is something we need to remind ourselves every single day of, because it's so easy to
Hmm.
just grab, our attention gets grabbed by some image, and oh, I need to get this done, or oh my God, why am I not keeping up with that? So
Hmm.
thank you, Nat. Thank you so much, because this has been
Hmm.
a powerful conversation on so many levels.
Hmm. It's so
And
good to see you. And thank you so much for having me chat today.